Court reporters hold one of the most important roles in the justice system. We're entrusted with the official records of the courts, and we also have to run our own businesses, which is not something most of us were prepared for. I'm Bryn Seymour, freelance court reporter and life coach, and I invite you to join the discussion about the problems we face and the solutions we create on the unique journey of a stenographer.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Court Reporter Podcast.
Hello, court reporters, interpreters, attorneys, paralegals, everyone in the legal field, whoever's listening to this podcast, thanks for listening again. And I'm really excited about this week's topic, which is how I am transitioning. Temporarily, I'm going to be switching from freelancing to try out working in court. I want to see what it's like to have a stable, predictable schedule from 9 to 5. So I want to tell the story of how I decided to start working in court and how I'm making this transition. So basically, it all started at the end of last year while I was in Maine. I was just starting to get really fed up with the up and downness of the work. There was weeks where it was so busy and I was just like slammed, and it can be exciting. And that was exciting and I like that. But then there were also very slow times, and it would be great if I had planned to do something in those slow times. Like every human being has two parts of there's probably multiple parts of the brain that I'm not aware of because I'm not a psychologist, but the two main parts of the brain that I am aware of as a life coach, a certified life coach, is the prefrontal cortex, which is the executive functioning part of our brain, the decision-making part of our brain, the planning, that is our prefrontal cortex. And we also have the primitive part of our brain, also known as I'm just going to call it the primitive part because I'm not really sure what the scientific name is. It's slipping my mind right now. So basically, the primitive part of our brain, that's the part of the brain that loves seeking pleasure, immediate gratification, always wants to be comfortable, always wants to be safe, protected, always putting the red flags up whenever you're putting yourself into what it could perceive as some kind of danger. So that part of our brain, if it had power over us, it would keep us on the couch all day eating ice cream or whatever our favorite sugar or favorite junk food is, watching our favorite TV shows, or scrolling social media and just getting instant dopamine hits. That is what we would be doing all day if we were controlled by our primitive brain. And unfortunately, the primitive brain is much stronger than the prefrontal cortex. We have to make a conscious effort, not just once or twice, but it's like a continual struggle that human beings face, is that we have to train ourselves to, that's all about self-discipline and self-control and planning and following through with the plan. So I'm actually planning an episode to share about how to follow through with your plan. A lot of us as court reporters, we don't have that luxury or that privilege or the ability to really plan the way that most people do, just due to the unpredictable nature of our careers and our jobs as freelance court reporters. We just don't know, especially having a set end time. Like they say, okay, the deposition starts at 10 and we're going to go until 2. We're not going past 2, we're stopping at 2. But here in New York, a lot of times I find that they have no idea when it's going to end. They don't even bother trying. Sometimes they'll say, yeah, it's going to be short, probably no more than an hour. Sometimes they'll say that, and sometimes it's accurate. But normally the agencies don't make the effort to figure out, to get that information. And so they just say 10 o'clock, we have no idea when it's going to end. So just plan to be busy the whole day. Just plan nothing else for the whole day. The reason that we're different from animals is because we have a prefrontal cortex. We can live with intention, not just going with our instincts in the moment, which going with the instincts in the moment is fun in the moment, but it's not going to move us towards our goals. It's not going to move us where we want to go. It's going to keep us spinning around in circles, staying in the same spot, just getting immediate gratification, immediate pleasure, immediate excitement, just whatever we feel like doing at the moment is usually not what our higher level self actually wants to achieve in order to get closer to our goals. So we need to utilize our prefrontal cortex. That's the difference between human and animals. If we didn't have that ability to live a very intentional, planned life, then we would be like an animal. There would be no difference. That's why you don't see animals planning You don't see them scheduling meetings or scheduling anything because they don't have that ability with their brain. They only can do, like, they just are living to survive, just day by day, moment by moment. And that's kind of, it's just not a good habit for us to live like that as humans. Like, we're humans, so we should live as intentionally as possible. That's what I believe. And that is how we can achieve our goals and reach levels that we want to reach and up level ourselves. So I feel like our unpredictable randomness of our scheduling and like how they tell us that they don't know when the deposition's going to end. And so those weeks come where it's like really slow and I didn't get to plan anything. I mean, yeah, I could always have a backup plan, but planning takes time and effort. And so if you already know that it's a 50-50, like you don't know whether you're going to be able to do your plan or not, it's difficult to build that muscle, to build that habit of actually planning, knowing that you don't even know if you'll be able to follow your plan. So it's very difficult for us as court reporters to get that habit, to get into the habit and build that muscle and utilize our prefrontal cortex. At least that's my experience. I know that there are many others out there who are really good at planning and sticking to their plans. Let's say I decide for myself that my goal is to get my RPR, and in order to get it, I am going to practice for 30 minutes a day, and I'm going to wake up every morning at 7 o'clock and do my practice at that time. I don't know, like some kind of a plan. Imagine you make a plan, whatever you say you're going to do. I'm going to wake up at 7 a.m., practice on my steno machine for 30 minutes, and then I'm going to work out for 30 minutes. Like, imagine you say, we have so many things we want to do. We have so many intentions. And we say we want to work out. We want to reach this goal. We want to lose 5 pounds. We want to get our RPRs. We want to get our RMRs. We want to do everything. But imagine a world where you could say, this is what I'm going to do. And then you actually do it every single time without fail. You trust yourself. You know you're going to do it and you do it. You can say you're going to do something, you plan it, you write it down, and then you absolutely do it. It takes training, strict training. But seriously, imagine if you could do that. If everything you said you were going to do, you actually do it. Imagine how much you could accomplish. So the key to building that muscle, building that skill, and building that habit, it's actually very simple. And I've learned this over the past couple, I want to say years, but it's been at least 1 year since I've been really, really trying, like actively trying to build that skill and build that muscle and live an intentional life, make a plan and follow that. And there was 1 year, there was a specific goal I had, and I was able to accomplish it because that was my one and only focus. And so what I really wanted to talk about in this episode was the concept of constraint. Actually, there are 2 ways to accomplish your goals. So number 1 is constraint. Number 2 is becoming the type of person who can say, I'm going to do this, and then you actually do it. Becoming the type of person who follows through with your own plan. Like, we have no problem following through with the plan that's given to us. I have no problem showing up to court. I have to show up at 9 o'clock, no problem. But when it comes to making my own plan, setting up my own structure, having that accountability from within, it's so much harder. Can we agree on that? I hope so. I hope I'm not the only one. But building that muscle of becoming a person who follows through with your plan, who first of all, makes a plan, and second of all, actually does what's on your plan. A lot of us try to make a plan, don't follow through so many times that we just decide it's a waste of time to even try to make a plan. So then we just give up on planning altogether. So there is a way to build that muscle, and it takes time, dedication, effort, and training. And I'm not there yet. I'm working on it. I'm going through the process. So actually, that number 2 of building the muscle of becoming that type of person is a journey that I'm taking myself on. And so I'm learning a lot on that journey and I have a lot to share about it. So that'll have to be another episode. But this specific episode is about constraint. So let's talk about that. So if you truly want to accomplish something, you have to constrain, which means eliminate all other unnecessary things that are not focusing on that goal. So that 1 year that I was able to accomplish a specific goal that I had set, like a yearly goal, and I broke it down with numbers and data and everything by month, by week, by day. And I was able to accomplish that goal. I mean, I was able to accomplish at least the plan. If we make a plan and say, okay, if I follow this plan, I believe that I'm going to achieve this result. And then we actually follow the plan. There was 1 year that I was able to do that, and it's because I constrained. I didn't have a business to run. This is before I was even a court reporter. I was working as like a receptionist. It was during the year in between my college when I went to Gettysburg and UConn. And after not figuring out what major I wanted, I decided to take a year off to work and just figure out what I want to do and get to know myself and explore. And so I was working as a receptionist at an office. And receptionist duties are not that difficult. Welcome everyone who comes into the office and be the face of the company. And so it wasn't difficult. Like, I didn't have a lot to worry about. And so I had hours where I was just sitting at this desk and not, you're not being bombarded with calls 24/7. Or, well, obviously I'm not working 24/7, but for all 8 hours of the workday, there's some time that there's no phone call or no one coming in. So the question is, like, how do I get my life to be so routinized, so simple, so that I can focus on something important and meaningful to me in order to accomplish that goal? I've tried so many times to have multiple goals, multiple projects and efforts that I'm working on. And yes, it can be good to have multiple things that you're working on, but honestly, like, there is not going to be too much of a result. But when you have one goal and one focus and you're only focused on that, your expectation can be high. You can shoot for the stars. You can do anything. You can really accomplish anything if you set your mind to it. Whatever it is you want to do, whatever it is you want to accomplish, choose one goal, focus on it, and constrain by eliminating everything else. So when it comes to running a business, as a freelance court reporter, it's just a lot, a lot of responsibilities, a lot of things to handle, a lot of just things that I did hire my transcript manager, Natalie, and she worked with me for 3.5, almost 4 years, and she just recently got a new job because I wasn't making consistently enough money to pay her a full-time salary. And she was so amazing and so good, and she deserves to be paid what she's worth. She's a 4-year college graduate from Hobart. She's a smart, intelligent woman. She's very well-spoken, so good at communicating with clients. I trusted her to communicate with attorneys. I trusted her to communicate with the agencies. She would figure things out without bothering me. Like, she was just very good and smart, like a very intelligent woman. I mean, I wanted to be able to pay her a full-time salary. I wanted to share half of my salary with her, but it got to some points where it was just so inconsistent, so up and down, especially when I moved from New York to Maine and then back, and like, it was just so much was going on, and like the notary issue, and like, it would be slow one week, fast another week, and then there would be a month. I mean, there was months during COVID when I should have gone unemployed, but I didn't even realize I could do that. Anyway, just a few weeks ago, she got a new job. She got a full-time job in cybersecurity. She's very detail-oriented, loves data, though she loved working for me. She was very loyal. She was always loving her job. And all these years that I've been saying, like, yeah, it's going to be great. We're almost there. We're getting there. But it was really like, my efforts were really to try to routinize my life and try to create simplicity in my life. And I really wanted to just delegate everything to her. I did not want to run my business. I wanted her to run the business. And I just wanted to type. I just wanted to go show up at the depositions, type the testimony down, get it out of sight, out of mind, send it to her. She would take care of it from there. She would take care of the scoping, the proofreading, sending it to them if she wasn't available to do it herself, coordinating deadlines, managing everything, making sure it's formatted correctly, answering requests. If the agency sent me a request, she would be the one to respond. Like, if they said something was wrong or if they needed something, like, she would be the one to respond. And so I literally created that for myself, where I would just go and type. And it was still overwhelming for me because I knew that, like, you can't delegate. Okay, when it comes to scoping and proofreading and uploading to the portals, yes, I had managed that myself and I had been an expert at that, so I could train her and I could delegate that to her. But there were a lot of other aspects of running a business. First of all, the bookkeeping and the billing and the accounting, like all that, the financial aspect. There's a whole financial department that I was neglecting wasn't really paying attention to. I even offered her a partnership. I wanted her to become a co-owner of my business. I actually was willing to even sell her my business, or to give her my business if she was willing to run it. And I could just be an employee of my business. And of course, like, that gives me still the power and the freedom to help as needed and to put in as much effort as I wanted to. But she declined because she understands the concept of constraint too. Like, you can't be trying to do everything. If you're trying to do everything, then you're going to end up accomplishing nothing. Even my mentor Joshua told me, and I didn't like it when he said it to me because it sounded harsh and it sounded mean, but I appreciate that he told me this back in November when I was in Maine. I applied to the state of New York when I was contacting people about my podcast. One of the contacts that I was in touch with was Reed Goldsmith, and when I told him that I was moving from Maine to New York, he was like, oh my gosh, you have to apply for a job in court, like, we really could use you. And I was like, yeah, actually, that's not a bad idea. I've always wanted to work in court. I've always wanted to go back to kind of having that very structured, very predictable routine where you're not overexerting yourself. You don't have too many responsibilities. Like, you don't have to worry about the bookkeeping and the billing and the accounting and the invoicing and the quarterly taxes and the unemployment insurance and the whatever other insurances, whatever other taxes or fees you have to pay as a business owner, and when you set up payroll. And I don't know, I actually have a bunch of notices from the government, from the state of Maine and then from the state of New York, that I just have been avoiding and procrastinating opening because it overwhelms me. It stresses me out so much. When you're overwhelmed, when you're stressed out, when you don't have a peaceful, clear mind, it's very difficult to get anything done. Like, you're just living, you're just getting by. You're just doing the bare minimum, doing what you have to do, and you're always feeling stressed and overwhelmed, and that's how I would always be feeling, and it's just not healthy. And so, since Natalie is no longer with me, yes, it's a lot more work on my part, which is not a bad thing. It's just that I would love that structure. I would love that predictability, that stable routine. I don't want to have to worry about the financial department of my business. It's just like, even though there are benefits to having a business, to running a business, temporarily right now, like, I love my business and I love the whole the excitement and the entrepreneurial aspect of it. But right now, I really need constraint. I really need to simplify my life. And I think working in court, at least I need to try it out. I need to see, even though I'm going to be commuting like an hour and a half all the way into the Bronx, and that's like the place that nobody else wanted to work, and that's where I'm going to be going every day. And even though I'm going to be waking up early, even though I'm not a morning person, it's going to be difficult. I know it's going to be so hard. I'm probably going to pass out as soon as I get on the train, probably wake up late sometimes and have to just drive there into the heart of the Bronx, which is not ideal because there's going to be a lot of traffic. I don't care. Like, I really want that in my life. I really want that structure. And maybe after a while I won't want it anymore, but I just want to try it out. And that's why I'm doing this. So I did apply for the job back in October and November, filled out the application and so I applied. I followed up every single month wondering, like, what's the status? When will I hear? I really want this, like, stability, this predictability. I really want it. I want the structure. And so I kept following up, and they kept saying, like, yeah, you'll hear back in a month or in a few weeks. And I never heard back until this month. Oh, last month now. Now it's May, so April is when I heard back. So I was called for an interview. Oh, and I had also been interviewed by another court in New York City a couple weeks before this, and the first time that I interviewed for court, I didn't do very well. So basically, they were asking me, would you be willing to work long hours and stay late and to do daily expedites up to 150 pages a day? Would you be willing to do that? And it didn't sound like I would be paid for the pages. And so I kind of was taken aback and I was shocked and surprised. And like, we didn't even have cameras on or anything like that. And so it was very impersonal. I didn't even know who I was really talking to. I didn't get to see their faces. They didn't get to see mine. And so I was kind of like, this doesn't sound to me, like, it didn't sound to me like normal. Like, I guess I thought that all jobs in court were 9 to 5. Like, government offices never work past 5, and they always have lunch breaks, and they always have good benefits and things like that. So I was like, wait, you want me to do what? And so I was shocked, and I didn't know how to answer that. I didn't know how to really respond. So I don't think I did too well. So after that, I was very prepared for whatever they were going to ask me. And so my next interview was at the criminal court. It was in person. So I went down to the tip of Manhattan, and I sat in front of a panel of 3 people, and they asked me questions. It was a very simple interview. Like, they don't really ask too many questions besides, like, are you willing to do this? Are you able to do this? Oh, one question they asked me in the family court interview after the criminal court interview. The next day I had a family court interview, and they asked me, what would you do if you noticed that someone was being harassed or treated improperly or discriminated against? Something along those lines. They asked me that question, and so my answer was that I would not involve myself unless I had to, depending on the situation. But in most cases, if I observed something like that, I would just report it to whoever is the necessary person to report that to, because that's my understanding of how a government organization should run, or any high-level organization should be run like that. Like, you don't just involve yourself in matters and have arguments with people. Like, you just report the facts to the supervisor and let them know this is what happened. I'm a little concerned about it. So that was my answer, and that was the only question that was like not factual based or skills based. All the other questions were kind of like, can you do real time? Would you be willing to do real time if someone requested it? Would you be open to working late? Would you be able to work on weekends? Criminal court, like, they're the ones that are all over the place. A family court is strictly 9 to 5. So I chose family court because I really, like I said, I think I've said it like 5 times that I just really want that structure. And so I chose family court. That sounded lovely to me, and they offered me the job. Yeah, criminal court and family court both offered me the job. So that might be a shock to you that I'm switching from freelance to court for a little bit, and I'm going to see how that goes. I'm really excited for this. I'm just so excited. I can't wait to share with you guys what I learned, and I really love to hear your feedback. So if you can leave me a review on this podcast, if you like it, please give me a 5-star review. If you don't like it, then send me an email. You don't have to leave negative. You don't have to leave a negative comment. It would be great if you could just send it to me privately if you have any feedback, constructive criticism, or if you have any ideas. I love to collaborate with court reporters and with anyone in the legal industry, interpreters, lawyers, attorneys, counsel people, officials, wherever you are. If you want to collaborate, if you want to add anything, if you have anything, a story to share, please let me know, because I'm always looking to collaborate with others. This is not only my journey that people can benefit from hearing my experiences, but especially the experiences of others who are ahead of me. There are so many more advanced and experienced people out there than I am. So it would be great to collaborate with all of you. And leaving a review is really helpful because it helps others to learn about this podcast. One thing that I forgot to mention was, okay, so after I took the court test and I got the offer, I was offered a job as a provisional court reporter, not an official full-time court reporter, but provisional, which means it's temporary until, I guess there's a test that you have to pass, and you have to be on this list of registered, approved court reporters for the courts, like official court reporters. And I did not realize, I heard vaguely in the past that there's a test, and I thought that I would be you would get the job as a provisional, and then once you're there, they give you a test and you have to pass the test. I don't know. I thought there would be some preparation once you get the job, but I had no idea that it was something that I had to register for, something that I had to do separately. So I got upset about that, and I asked my mentor. I said, "What in the world? How did I not know about this? I just missed the deadline. I just missed my chance to register for the test. The test was May 6th. And for the higher level court, I think it's May 20th. And so I was contacting Mike and Reed and every connection that I had that had helped me with the process of getting a job in court. I contacted them. I said, is there any possible way? I missed the registration date, but the test hasn't happened yet. Is there any possible way that you can still get me in? Can I register late? Is there any loophole? There has to be a loophole. There has to be a way, because the test hasn't happened yet. I was determined to find a way to register because I really didn't want to lose the job. If I really like working in court, I want to be able to keep it. And I also want to be able to transfer to a court that's closer to where I live so that I don't always have to be commuting so far. But I could not find a loophole and I did not end up taking the test, which is fine. You know, I got over it. But I was upset, and I asked my mentor, and I said to him, I said, like, why did I not know about this? Like, how, I just feel like our industry, we don't have a way of being up to date, and we're always missing things. It's like a hit or a miss. So he said that it was all over Facebook, but I said, well, where? Like, what does that even mean, all over Facebook? Is there a newsletter that I should be on? Is there any way to consistently, reliably stay up to date on what's happening within the industry, specifically in the state of New York or whatever state you're in? So I guess in New York, we don't really have a newsletter like that. So hopefully this podcast can help keep everybody informed and help you not make the same mistakes that I made. If you want to work in court, because the thing is that this test, the civil service exam, is only given once every 4 years. That's why it was such a big deal. That's why I was like, no, I have to make it. I have to figure out a way to get in, because if I don't take the test, that's 4 years and I'm going to lose my job. So, well, hopefully not. I mean, we'll see what happens, but whatever's God's will, I'm totally just walking the path, going with the flow, and we'll see what happens. So I will continue to share what's going on with my journey and hope everything works out well. And I hope you're all having fun with your entrepreneurship. And all right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.